Hello, Jay. Great. Well, everybody, you are not here to hear me speak. You've come specially to listen to instructive, informative, valuable information from Dr. Pieter Clase. So I think for most of you, this would be your first time to meet Dr. Clase, but Dr. Clase will introduce himself, I hope. He will tell you a little bit about himself, and so I won't spend too much time. But we got to meet Dr. Clase in our interactions to help students get access to the University of Pretoria, and he was very helpful to 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 help our students just find their way into the programs that they needed. And we met him just before he retired, and so once he retired, he started his own career counseling and subject choices uh, institution where he advises parents and students. And since then, he's been a regular to help us and just help our students think and plan for their future. Great. So I won't take any more time. Dr. Clase, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us again tonight.
Thank you, Peter.
I should wear my tie. You know, when I started, Dr. Clase, I was, when I started as a teacher, I made sure to every day wear a tie to school. And then at some point I lost my job, and I was determined I'm going to continue to be a professional. So even as an unemployed person, every day I put on my tie until eventually, I don't even know what happened. Eventually I said, no, it's okay. But you look very dashing in your tie. Thank you for joining us. And I'm going to give over to you.
Thank you very much, Peter. Now, I'm also old school, and but I always wear a tie when I talk to people that I have a lot of respect for. So it's for you and also for Elroy, because grade 12, I hope you realize that you are in the best online school in the country. And that is because of the leadership of Mr. Pieter Clase and also his dedicated and very capable staff. And it's just not something that I say, but you can see it in the results, that they get at the end of the year. So I'm very privileged to be part and to be, for the past number of years, one of the family members, I could say, also of Elroy. Yeah, it's a huge privilege for me this evening to address you. I had the privilege also a week ago to talk to a lot of grade 12 learners' parents, just also to give them some advice. Just a little bit about myself. I was also a school principal for about 17 years, but then I joined the tertiary environment. And for the past 18 years, I was at the University of Pretoria before I retired. And I was head of the student recruitment division. We did a lot of, career advice and subject choice advice, etc. Very passionate about guiding young people towards successful careers. And that's what I'm doing currently. So that is why I would also like to address you this evening. I don't want to bore you. I'm just going to maybe, mention a few things that I want to give you, actually some advice and some tips, because most of you, I believe, also going to start applying now from the end of or the beginning of March till the end of the year to different tertiary institutions, on your way towards successful study programs and successful careers. And I don't want you to experience what I saw so many students in the past experience. They arrived at the university excited about this new exciting time in their lives, life-changing times, and then suddenly after a week or three, they realize that something is wrong. And then they ended up in our offices and they realize they're in the wrong study programs. So I try to prevent it by all means, and it's all about preparation, and that is why I would like to touch on some of these topics this evening to help you, that you will not be in a situation like that. So I'm just going to share my screen with a presentation. I'm going to take you through that, and if it's fine with Mr. Clase also, then at the end, please make a note if there's any questions, and then at the end we will gladly assist wherever I can. And if I don't have answers, I will find it out and I will give you feedback. But let me just quickly share my screen, make sure that you can all see that. Can you just give me an indication whether you can see this?
That's perfect. And all of the blocked Images are removed.
Thank you. You taught me that well last
Oh, I know.
Monday, so I'm glad that I remember. Right, grade 12, most of the things that I'm going to say is also things that I touch with your parents. But obviously, as prospective students, I want to just touch a little bit more on some practical issues also regarding your applications. And I believe most of you are going to apply to a tertiary institution for 2027. Maybe there are some people that are still in the process and will only be applying for 2028. But I think the information that I will give through will be relevant, no matter when you are going to apply. I also want to start off, just like with your parents, with a positive note. You know, we are surrounded by all kinds of negative things in South Africa at this stage, whether it's on the political front or job opportunities, all those kind of things. But I want to start on a positive note to say that tertiary qualifications in South Africa from reputable universities are really still highly regarded and recognized on international rankings. Our graduates are in demand. I believe there may be some of your brothers or sisters that are also internationally employed after they obtain their qualifications in South Africa. So there's postgraduate study opportunities nationally and globally, career opportunities. But the important thing is, like you said, that I put there at the end, for students who are serious about their studies and who work hard. It's not for everyone. You must really be dedicated, and I know it's in each one of yours reach also, you know, to be one of those people that really studies hard and that you are serious about your studies. However, there's also the negative side, and the negative side is always, you know, such a disturbing reality to me. If you look annually at the put-through rate of students, you know, in South Africa, 30% of first-year students drop out in their first year of studies at tertiary. This is now at universities. It's specifically stats on universities in South Africa. Within the first year, a third of the students drop out. And 50%, more disturbing, 50% dropped out in their first 3 years of study. In other words, before they graduate. This is a very concerning fact, and it's not necessary that it should be like that. But the main reasons, or some of the main reasons for this, is exactly what I put down there. I think the main reason is people make a wrong career and study choices. And that's what I hope I'm going to be able to give you some advice this evening, not to let it happen to you. And then also people that are not academically prepared for what awaits them at the university. And usually it's about inadequate study methods, time management, you know, all those things that is so important at the university, because you must have self-discipline, just like you must have it also where you're studying right now, to be able to achieve high results. Lack of academic support, that can also be a reason why people, you know, drop out. But however, I must say, you know, at most institutions, at most tertiary institutions, there's enough resources to help people that are struggling academically. The big problem is people are not prepared, or students are not prepared to ask when they experience problems. They even don't talk to their parents in some instances, and then they just go on and they hope for the best. While as if they just ask around, there's in all campuses, there's people that assist you, there's mentors, there's tutors. I think it's just the same that at Elroy, you've got teachers that you can contact on a private way, you know, and just get information. Another one is the inadequate financial support. Yes, it's expensive to study. So, but there's things like the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. Maybe you will know it better as by the name of NSFAS, or the abbreviated version NSFAS, which is excellent bursary schemes where you can qualify based on income of a household. Those are things, so there are support. We must just look around and see where these support are. I mean, that is one place where you can get financial support, but there's also others. We just need to go and look for that. And then sometimes it's not only an academic transition to a tertiary institution, where a lot of people are not struggling so much with the academic transition. You know, the university, more work, more content, more difficult things that you have to absorb, but it's suddenly a different environment, and people struggle with the non-academic factors, adapting to the new environment. I mean, at the University of Pretoria, there's about 53,000 students. So it's a big place to adapt, and it's diverse, and people from different backgrounds, different cultures. It's lecturers from international lecturers. So there's a lot of things in the residences that you have to adapt to. But those things that I mentioned now is all things that we can address before we enter the university, before you make that decision about where you would like to go to, for the next 30 or 40 years of your life. Because that is reality, grade 12. You are busy preparing yourself for a career, obviously, that can take you, or for a career in which you are supposed to be happy for 30, 40 years after studies. And obviously then also for a study program that will bring you, or that will take you to such a degree. So that is the reality. Now, I must touch on the academic aspect also. There's one thing that can, well, not always guarantee you, but that they are going to look at in the selection process, to any tertiary institution, and that is your academic performance. There's minimum admission requirements that you need to meet, but there's enough information about that, and we're going to talk about that. But the academic thing is so important, because that is the reality. Tertiary institutions receive more applications annually than there are spaces available. If I can give you an indication, at the University of Pretoria, I know they get every year more than 100,000 applications from prospective students for their first study year, for first years. And they can only accommodate 9,500. I just heard the other day that at the University of Johannesburg, it's even worse. They get 245,000 applications for about 11,000 places. Now, that tells you immediately there's going to be selection. And the main thing about selection, it will be on academic merit. There are some programs, of course, like fine arts, the music, those kind of things, where they will look at portfolio, drama, etc., where you have to submit and you do auditions and those kind of things. But for the most programs, they look at your academic performance. And we must make sure that you will be one of those 9,000 or one of those 11,000. Now, that shouldn't discourage you to think, oh my goodness, there's no way that they can get into into those selected program places. You can. You must just put your head to it. It is not the fact that you must be a genius to get into tertiary institution. Not at all. You must just perform according to your potential. Do your best, and then there will be spaces available for you. To determine your admission into tertiary study programs, they are going to look at your grade 11 and your grade 12 results. Now, grade 12s that are now in grade 12 and you are going to apply for 2027, they are going, for selection purposes at the most universities, they will look at your grade 11 end exam result. Few institutions look at mid-year matric results. They look at your grade 11 end year result. They select you on these results, and then if you are successful, they conditionally admit you. And please take note, it's a conditional admission, because it will only be a final admission after you receive your matric results, and your matric results also meet the minimum requirement. This is very important, because some people think, okay, I'm in now with my grade 11 results, so I can relax a little bit in grade 12. Not at all. You must still maintain your academic standard to be fully admitted, otherwise you can forfeit your space. In strict selection programs, for instance, like medicine or veterinary science, some of those programs, if your mark drops, if you are conditionally admitted on your grade 11 mark, and your mark drops with more than 5% in your matric exam, they may exclude you from the program. So just to emphasize, you must keep, and you must even do better with your grade 11 or your grade 12 result. Now, I know immediately there will be some of you saying, oh my goodness, I was not aware of that, and my grade 11 mark does not meet the requirement for my preferred program that I want to apply to. Is it now the end of the road? No, It's not the end of the road, and I will explain it a little bit later on. We are going to make plans. There's plans around this, because even if your grade 11 mark doesn't bring you in, your grade 12 mark can still play a big role to get you in some instances, still for 2027. So don't despair, we will get there. Obviously, people who are planning to take a gap year next year, not studies, at the moment, then you are going to apply next year for 2028. But by that time, you will have your grade 12 result. And then they won't look at your grade 11 mark, obviously, then they will only look at your grade 12 mark. Now, I want to give you tips. I want to give you steps, I think, to prevent disappointment. And I think the starting point is not like a lot of people are doing, grabbing prospectuses of institutions, checking out programs that are offered. It's a BCom this, it's a BSc this. And they can see whether they meet minimum requirements. And then based on that, they decide what they would like to study. But at the end, they have no idea where this program is taking me to which career is this program taking me. They know, for instance, for BCom supply chain management, I know I meet the requirement. I know I can get into the program, but I have no idea what career am I going to do with that one day. You see, that is the problem, because then they get into the system, and after a week or 2 or 3 or a semester, they realize, listen, but what I'm doing now, this is not what I would like to do for the rest of my life, for 30, 40 years. And then they realize they're in the wrong study program. Now, I don't think that is very wise. We must just turn it around. So my whole approach to this is I'm starting at the back. I want to know where each one of you is going to be happy for 30, 40 years, in which career. Once we can determine that, it's easy to say, I've looked at all the careers now in my fields of interest. I think I want to become an architect, just an example. Now you can come back and say, okay, now we go to the prospectuses. At which institutions can I study architecture? What are the requirements? What are the practical implications, location, all those kind of things. And then you get to decide which program and you submit your application. That is the easy part. In deciding about a dream career, and I'm so serious about this, some people think I just, I must study a degree. There's no other options. I must have a degree because it's a status, it's a prestige kind of qualification. I'm not really an academic person, but I'm going for a degree. I think that is the wrong approach. At the end, your dream career must fit the things that I mentioned there. Your interest, your aptitude, your personality, all those things that I mentioned there. Some people don't like academic programs. I had the same thing with my own daughter. Started an academic program and I stopped it after 2 months because I saw it's going to be a disaster and she doesn't like that. So at the end, she went in a totally practical kind of program and she's very happy in what she's doing currently. So it's so important that you must ask yourself the important question, am I an academic person who prefer an academic program, or am I more into the practical programs? And you don't have to, sometimes people think if I have high marks, I must do academics. No, there are people with very high marks, but they are not interested in that field. They are into practical programs. And they want rather to do a diploma or one of those practical apprenticeships, etc., etc. So just keep in mind when you decide on a career that you be realistic about what you really would like to do. Now, sometimes when I tell people like this is my approach, the next question they tell me, yes, sir, it's easy for you to say I must now start with a career, but where do I start? There's a lot of resources, also in internet, where you can go, you can test your field, your career interest, and then you can be exposed to all those careers in that field. And I've got this agreement with Elroy, and I'm very grateful for that you are most welcome to contact me and to make an appointment. And I will test you. I will test your personality. I will test your career interest. And there you will clearly see in which kind of field are your career interests. That will suit your personality, because those two goes together. Your personality must also fit your field of interest or your career. And then I can expose you to all the careers. in your field of your field of interest, and then you can browse through all these careers. And I can promise you, you are going to get across careers that you've never heard about. And the thing that you maybe would really like to do one day is outside there. You haven't discovered it yet. And once we are there, then we can work back to the program that we want to study. The next important thing, Rituals, and you may think there's no time for this, is the whole thing about job shadowing. You know, people have perceptions about careers, and based on that, they decide on study programs. They watch TV, they watch all these forensic programs, which is quite interesting, you know, these theories, and they want to go into forensics. Or they watch Suits and LA Law and all these law dramas, you know, court dramas, and they want to become an advocate because of what they see on TV. But they don't have the full picture. And so I can take it through to all careers. They don't have the full picture of what this career really entails. Yes, you are going to be in the courtroom fighting cases, but you're not going to do it all day. That is a part, and a smaller part, of an advocate's job. For the most of the part, they are sitting behind tables or desks, reading difficult legal stuff, analyzing, building their cases, because before they get to the exciting part in the courtroom, where they're going to fight this case or defend this case. And the best way to get that information is to talk to someone that is already in that career, to do some job shadowing. And you'll see the program that we use also to expose you to the careers. They give you information about the professional body's contact details of each and every career that you can contact. They've got databases that can bring you in touch with someone that is doing this job. So I strongly suggest that you, even if you are thinking about a career, say for instance, you are thinking about becoming an electrical engineer, put in an effort and make an appointment with an electrical engineer. Go and talk to this person. You don't have to go and work with him for a month. If you can go out and see where's the site that is working, great. But even if that is not possible, just a 20, 30-minute conversation with a person saying, listen, sir, what is the good things about your career? What is the not so good things about your career, the exciting part? But after that discussion, and they will be honest with you, then you will know whether you see yourself in that career. Now, obviously, I must just warn, obviously, you know, you need someone that is positive about their career. Otherwise, it can be quite a disaster if you have someone that from the start just say, yeah, listen, you just don't go in my career. Then rather look for someone else that is also doing that job. This is what you get, for instance, if you go onto and what we will also do if we test you. This is an example of a person's career interest. They completed the questionnaire, and then we get this kind of thing. Now, there's a lot of valuable information. You can immediately see this person has got a broad field of interest, a lot of things that he's interested in. Not sure, it just tells me it's normal. He's still young, still considering many options. There's nothing standing out, you know, and the rest is all zero. But what I can immediately see here, this person is interested in plants and animals, health support services, health sciences. If you combine those interests, it can be veterinary science or veterinary nursing, or even just in plants and animals. It can be a BSc an agricultural program in animal science. It can be marine biology. There's so many careers popping out here. There you see management and planning. Together with plants and animals, there's, for instance, programs like BCom, because management and planning often shows us towards BCom. It can be a BCom agribusiness management, where people go out to farmers to advise them on how to profitably, do their farming, because it's a business nowadays. There's engineering, which is also not so low down the line, engineering with the health sciences combined. It can be biomedical engineering. So I hope you get the idea about all the things that you can conclude from this graph. And the nice thing about it is this: if we know your career interest, we can slot into those, say for instance, plants and animals, and we can go and see what are all the careers in plants and animals, because there's a lot. And maybe you know about one or two. So I want to expose you to all the others. And then the whole idea is to Go and have a look at all these careers. Start eliminating and ticking off, this is interesting, and in that way, you get closer and closer to what you really would like to be doing at the end. So there's a lot of things that we can do. Okay, let me carry on. Another thing, obviously, you'll have, when you're going to study, you'll have to meet some minimum requirements. Now, these requirements are for bachelor degree entrance. There's different requirements for diploma or higher certificate, but for bachelor degree, you are doing Sakai. I just have NSC and IB here. But yeah, you must have an achievement level of 4. I'm not going through all of these things. You know these things. So you must meet that. And in the second place, you must meet university or faculty specific requirements. And this is important to note that all universities don't have the same admission requirements. University of Pretoria requirements will be different from Matric, from WITS, from UCT. You must go to the websites of these different institutions to compare admission requirements. But this is what you will usually see, that in any program, this is now an example of Bachelor of Science in Biochemistry at UP. There they require for English, you must have for English home language a 5, which is 60%. You must have mathematics a 5, which is 60%. You must have physical science a 5. And your APS score, I'm sure you know about the admission point score, must be 32. I will just explain that in the next slide. But you must meet all these requirements. I often get the question of people saying, listen, sir, I meet all these requirements. In fact, I've got an APS of 35. And I meet all the requirements except maths. I don't have 60 for maths. I've got 58 for maths. But my APS is higher. Would you accept me? No, unfortunately not. Good for you if you have a higher APS, but you must meet all the minimum requirements. So that is very important to know. Otherwise, the institution won't consider you. Right, and you will see all programs have different admission requirements, and you will see that in the different prospectuses. This is how APS is calculated at the University of Pretoria. There are other universities, most of the universities use this one, but there are others that have a little bit of a different one. For instance, here you will see on this one, for people that get between 80 and 100% for a subject, you get a 7. Some institutions divided, they say from 80 to 89 is a 7, and from 90 to 100 is an 8. So they have that little distinguished factor there, but in this case now, it gives you an idea. So this is a person, this is typically a grade 12 learner. After a test or an exam, calculate his APS score. Just note that life orientation is excluded. So APS is calculated on 6 subjects. For his English, he got 67, which is a 5. Afrikaans, a 57, which is a 4. I'm not going through all of them. And then they just add up. And this person's APS score is 33. So if you look to the previous slide, the requirement was 32. So this person can apply for that program based on his APS. We must just make sure that his maths must be above 70, which is the case. His science must be above 70, or 60, which is true. And his English must also be. So this person can apply for the previous program. So I believe you know how this works. If any questions about this, you're most welcome to ask at the end. The whole thing about maths or maths literacy, sometimes people think I must take mathematics because without mathematics, all the doors will close. No, that is not true. With mathematics that you fail, it's a disaster. Sometimes people think just the fact that I have mathematics will open doors for you. No, if you fail the mathematics, it will actually close doors for you. So it's better. My advice is always, if you are at a risk of failing mathematics, then please listen to your teacher's advice at Elroy, whether you should carry on with the mathematics or whether you should consider switching over to mathematical literacy. Very important, because sometimes and I can also include physical science here because it's difficult subjects. Sometimes people struggle with these subjects, and at the end it have a negative impact on all these subjects because they worry about this subject, they're struggling, and then also affect negatively or impact negatively on the other subjects, and their whole average, their whole APS is going down. While if they decide, listen, no, I'm going to drop the mathematics, I'm going to switch over to mathematical literacy, which I can understand better, I will do better, it will do a lot for my self-esteem, and you will find that often their whole average, their APS, will go up. So it's a difficult decision, but listen to the advice. Just be realistic when you make this decision, because you will see mathematics literacy does still provide access to a lot of excellent study and career opportunities. Education, the humanities, law, theology, various IT programs, design, etc., that you can do with mathematical literacy. You will also see at some universities, for instance, in their requirements, they say you must have mathematics 50% or mathematical literacy 70%. It will just be a little bit higher, but they do accept mathematical literacy. But I think the big thing is just here to be realistic. People, if you are struggling with maths and you struggle to pass it, why would you do a program at the university level where maths is a requirement, where you are going to do maths in the program? Isn't that setting up for failure? It's not going to get easier. In fact, it will be more difficult at the university. Right, so I'm not going to say anything more about this. I think you get the message there. Now, the application process, you guys are there. The applications, most of the applications open now at the beginning of March. At UP and some other institutions, it's the 1st of April. And my advice is always, apply as early as possible, especially when you're applying for residence placements as well, because they sometimes look at the date of application. But there's a misconception, that if I submit my application, it is set in stone. I can't change it. No, that is not true. You can still change your study program choices as long as it happens before the closing date. Now at UP, for instance, the applications open April and it closes end of June. So my advice is always at the beginning when it opens, get in your application for the programs or the study programs that you think at that stage you want to apply for. If after a month you've done some research and you realize, okay, I've got BCom accounting science now as my first choice, but I want to change it to BCom investment management, then you just write an email to the faculty and ask them, listen, just change it because it's before the closing date. So there's still a lot of things, we still have time until closing dates where we can sort out your subject or your study programs. Very important. Nowadays, I think it was easier in me and Mr. Rousseau's time when we had to apply. I started in teaching in the Free State. I didn't have any doubt that I will be admitted at the University of Free State in a B.Ed program. Obviously, my marks, I must have, meet the minimum requirement. But I didn't even put on a second choice because I knew I will get space. And I was even more sure about the job when I was done studying because I could pick between schools where I would like to go and teach. Now, in your case, unfortunately, everything is a competition nowadays. A competition to get into programs. It's a competition to get a job afterwards. But it shouldn't make us, not putting in or making plans. We must just make clever plans. And that must actually motivate us to make plans and to keep open our options. And this is one of the ways, apply to more than one institution. And then you see what pops out there. Even if you get admitted into 3 institutions, you are only, you only confirm that you will enter a certain institution the moment you are registered. But if you are admitted, you still have the option of saying, no, sorry, I'm going to this institution where they also admitted me, and you can just cancel on that side. So it's not a risk doing that. Make sure that the application has been received. People, these are small little things. You will see that I must make you aware of. Some institutions, or most of the institutions nowadays, are online applications. It's quite a simple process. You submit you just enter your marks, you upload your ID and your grade 11 report, and you submit your application. Part of this application process at most institutions is where you must pay your application fee. There are some institutions that doesn't have application fees, but at most of them you must submit an application fee. And now you know how it works. For instance, would take a lot. If you go through the process and you make your payment for a certain product, then it's done. And sometimes people do it, they think it's also the way here, they go through all the steps until they get to the page where they have to make their payment, which you can do online. And after they've done that, they save and they log out. But the application hasn't been submitted. And then the university, even if they have paid, they haven't received your application. that is a huge disappointment when that happens to you. So just make sure, it shouldn't happen to you, but just make sure that you follow through with all the steps until at the end you get on your screen, your application has been submitted. Then there's no doubt, and then you know that your application is at the university site where they can process it. Very important also to apply to more than one study program at the same institution. Most of the institutions give you 2 choices, study choices. I think WITS gives 3 study choices. I've got the advantage at UP that I can add a 3rd and a 4th also. There's only space for 2, but I can later on add that after the student has received the student number. But yes, you must especially if you apply for selection programs, because you are not guaranteed that you will get into medicine. The selection is very strict. So you can't only apply for that. You must have a second choice. And that is where it's important that we must talk, because there are dedicated second choices for medicine, for instance, which will be a BSc Biological Sciences program, because a lot of modules are similar in that program and, for instance, medicine. So if you are not successful for medicine, you can be admitted into a BSc program, and then within your first year, you can apply internally to be considered for medicine still the next year, the following year. And if you are successful, you will get credits for the modules that you've already done, and you can continue with medicine. So it's so important that we must talk, and that you must make sure that you have a relevant, second choice that can also give you access again to your preferred choice. But it's very technical, these things. But I'm willing, really, if you struggle with that you contact me, and that we can help you to tell you which would be the best second choice to take. Now, obviously, sometimes it's not just about getting into your preferred program. Sometimes people are really thinking about accounting sciences, but they are also thinking about engineering. They are equally interested in both. Okay, fine. Then you just apply for both, because they are not selection programs. You just apply for both, and they will consider you for both. And if you are admitted for both of them, then at the stage they will just ask you, listen, you must pick now which one you would like to take. Okay, then take note that meeting minimum admission requirements does not guarantee admission. Not at all. And nowadays, I unfortunately can't tell you, if you apply for a BCom degree, what will be the cutoff. I don't know. No one knows. Because it depends on the number of people that are going to apply, and it depends on the quality of the applications that will get in. Sometimes, because they say, for instance, 300 places in this program, and there's 500 applications, once they receive your applications, they will work out your average, they will rank them from high to low, and they will just admit the top 300. The following year, there may be 700 applications for the same 300 spaces. So immediately your cutoff will be different. So my point is just, you must achieve academically as best as possible, because the higher you can achieve academically, the better your chances will be of admission into a program. Remember also, I've already mentioned that admission based on your final grade 11 results is only conditional. Final admission will only take place when the grade 12 results are released and you still meet the minimum required, or the special conditions of that faculty. Like I mentioned, with health sciences, you may not drop with more than 5%. And then it's very important, people nowadays, the universities, they don't communicate with letters, sending out letters and those things. Usually with most of the universities, when you apply, you submit your application is processed, then you will be able to log into your personal student portal on the university website. And please visit that regularly, because all your communication, everything will be posted on that. Specifically when you apply for programs like drama or music or art, where you have to, or architecture, where you have to submit projects, as part of the selection process. If you don't check it out and you don't get the communication, you're not going to know when I have to submit what, and at the end, they can't consider your application because they haven't received it, or your projects, or whatever you have to do. So please make sure that you, on a regular basis, not your parents, please, not your parents, you yourself, a regular basis, check your student portal, make sure that you know exactly what is going on and that you can follow the process. I'm almost done. I just want to quickly touch on typical scenarios when submitting an application that I came across that could create problems. I mentioned at the start, one of the most common ones is I do not meet the minimum admission requirements with my grade 11 end exam results for the program that I want to apply for. What now? Now, what we do in a case like this, I told you, your grade 12 marks can still help to get you into the program even for 2027 if you are going to apply for 2027. Say, for instance, you want to do electrical engineering, and now you can see with your grade 11 marks, you are not meeting the results. So what we do in a case like this, because you can't wait for your grade 12 results to be released because the institutions doesn't consider, or they don't consider, later applications. So what we do in a case like this, we let you apply for a program that is close to this program, but with lower admission requirements. For instance, a BSc, in this case for engineering, a BSc Maths or Physics, where the minimum requirement for Maths, for instance, is 60, while in engineering it's 70. But we apply for a program that you are not necessarily going to study, but where you meet the requirement. Just that we can get your application in the system, we can get the student number issued, so then you are on the system, you are not a late application. And then we wait for your matric results. And January next year, when your matric results are released, and now you do meet the requirement for that preferred engineering program, then we can go to the faculty and ask them, listen, this student now meets the requirement, will you reconsider or will you consider his application for engineering? Now, usually at that stage, nothing can be guaranteed, but usually at that stage, all the programs are full, but there are also a lot of people that have been conditionally admitted based on their grade 11 results, but they forfeit this admission based on their matric results. So there's cancellations coming through. And then they can look at cases like this, where they can say, okay, great, here's a guy that now meets the requirement, we can place them. So can you see there's still a lot of things that we can do, and we are able to assist a lot of people still in January, because classes only start at most institutions at the beginning of February. So we've got the whole time, 3 weeks after the release of the matric results, to try then to get you into your preferred study program. So this is a plan that we make that can maybe help you. People often ask, okay, but I want to be considered for more than one study program. I've already touched on that. You are allowed to apply for more than one study program, because at most institutions, you get more than one choice that you can put in. This, I believe, you will also get a lot in your case. Also, some people upgrading matric marks, but they will only get them results after closing date for applications. In this case, you will do exactly the same as in the first bullet there. You will apply with your current grade 12 results for a program where you do meet the requirements to get you on the system. And the moment your graded results are becoming available, then we will go to the faculty and say, now this person meets the requirement of the program that they really would like to do. Can you still consider them? It's a negotiated thing that we will then discuss with the faculty and ask them. And then also, often people will know, because you know about the national benchmark test, the NBT, is it still a requirement? At most institutions, no. But there are institutions still at WITS, for instance, for the BSc programs, for the engineering. There's a lot of programs, for geology, speech language pathology, those kind of programs. They still need you to write the national benchmark test, because that's part of their selection. But you can just check out their website, make sure at which programs they require the national benchmark test. But most of the other universities, UP, UCT, Matric. At Matric, the University of Stellenbosch, they only require the NBT for their law programs, not the other programs. But Free State, all those places, they no longer require the national benchmark test. If you must go and study or write the national benchmark test, just a hint from my side, book your space to write the NBT as soon as possible to make sure that you get space, but book it for as late as possible. Because if you're going to write it too early, then there may be work that you still haven't covered in mathematics that are going to ask questions on. I always think a good time to book it is right after your June exam, because you are in any case going to study hard for your June exam, and by that time, usually you are through with your syllabus, and then you can go and write it in while it's still fresh in your memory. I think, if I'm talking a little bit under correction, but I think the institutions need it by latest August. So it will still give you enough time to submit your results, or the NBT results will, in any case, I think, go automatically to these institutions. Those are the typical scenarios that sometimes cause a lot of questions, uncertainty. If there's anything else, you are most welcome to ask when we have time for questions. So this is from my side. And the big thing about this, I know Pieter is also very passionate about young people and getting them on track, and the big thing is you must believe in yourself. You can do that. And the sky is the limit. You must just do everything in your power to reach for the sky and to be successful one day, and you will get there. Just believe in yourself, do your best, and nothing will stop you there. Thank you, Pieter. That is from my side.
Thank you, Dr. Clase. That was always very, very insightful, and I know it's very helpful. So I want to give the students an opportunity to ask you some questions, just some guidance for the questions. I just want to go to, I don't see anything in the chat as of yet. You're welcome to put a question in the chat and I will read it if you didn't have the confidence to put up your hand. But can I ask, if you have a question for Dr. Clase, put up your hand, but just keep a few things in mind. If your question is specifically about your personal situation, I'm first going to show you how you can book a session with Dr. Clase and ask about your personal circumstances, explain everything to him. And then it might not involve everyone here, but if you have a question that everyone will benefit by all means ask that question. So you have a question that is fairly general, maybe it applies specifically to you, but other students will benefit from the question, then that will be a great question to ask. So before I'm going to give you an opportunity to ask your question, I'm just going to share my screen and show you where you can go to make your appointment with Dr. Clase. So just so that you know, Dr. Clase's services is not free, or his services are not free. They come at a cost, but not to you. We are, so you can get a free appointment with him. Elroy will cover the cost. It's included in your school fees. So make use of it. I used to, when I started Elroy, you guys might not know it, but when I started Elroy 14 years ago, actually, I made Elroy freely available to anyone, like the programs we wrote and the sources we made. And I got no interest. And the main reason why is because when something is free, people think it's worthless. So that's why I'm emphasizing Dr. Clase's services are not free. We're paying for it. So it has value enough for us that we're willing to pay for it. But it is at no cost, no extra cost to you. Okay. So I'm going to show you on your portal, you can go to the support course. Hopefully all of you know where the support course is. And then let me switch off the editing so it looks like the way you will see it. So you will see it like this. And then under student support, you can find study and career counseling. I think I actually spelled counseling wrong there. Okay, and then here is the book an appointment with Dr. Clase. So I know that Mr. Kuhn was just sorting out the booking times. I'm sure it's sorted out now. I'll just confirm that tomorrow, and then I'll send out an instruction on how you can book an appointment. But you can just go on there, and there is a booking form where you can select your name, your grade, parent email address, cell phone number, and then choose an appointment. That looks like the correct dates are on there. Okay, with spots remaining. So do that. Priority goes to grade 12s for this term, since you are the ones whose opportunities are at, or time is running out the quickest. So grade 12s, go and book your appointment as soon as possible. Okay, so with that being said, any questions for Dr. Clase or for myself? But primarily for Dr. Clase. Excellent. Danielle.
Yes, hello. I have a question for if there's any advice for students who are more considering to go into online courses, maybe how to start.
No, for sure. Thank you for that question. There's a lot of institutions nowadays moving over to online programs, degree programs, diploma. There's a lot of those institutions. So what I usually do is when I work with you, then we look at we evaluate your personality, your career, and to see what careers are coming out there, and then I can give you information on institutions where online courses can be taken. So no, for sure, there are a lot of institutions.
Thank you.
I see there's a question from Maylee. Can grade 10s book an appointment with Dr. Clase? Yes, they may. Grade 10s appointments are made in term 3, so they can definitely book an appointment with him. So just help us to make his availability, just to prioritize the grade 12s in term 1, the grade 11s in term 2, and then the grade 10s in term 3. Great. Melo. Am I saying your name correct? Just unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello. I wanted to ask, as an upgrading student, do we send our final upgraded results to the universities via email, or do they receive them automatically?
Thank you. Your final result, your grade 12 result is automatically sent to the institutions, but it is the safest way to, if you upgrade, they will receive it, but it's in any case safer, to just submit it from your side also to the relevant faculty that you apply to. Just informing them, listen, these are my upgraded results. Can you please process that on my application? And that is the safest way.
Dr. Clase, this is an excellent question. Atang asks, when you are a student athlete, do schools give leniency to marks in return for performance, or do they still give them the same requirements?
If you're a good sport achiever. Yeah, unfortunately for academic programs or for admission into programs, they only look at your academic marks. Sport accomplishments, achievements, those things are valid, for instance, for bursaries, if you apply for sport bursaries at institutions. But unfortunately, that can't bring you into study programs. It's the same with the leadership. Sometimes people are in some other leadership positions, but that unfortunately can't help getting into study programs.
So just to repeat what I hear, because this is very valuable information. So when it comes to access to any program that you want to study, they only look at your academic results. When it comes to bursary programs, you have a better chance at, or bursaries awarded, you have a better chance of being awarded bursaries based on your academic results as well, but any other thing that would make you a valuable candidate to award that bursary to. Am I correct?
Can I just mention, sorry, Pieter, I just forgot about, there's one program at University of Pretoria, which is the highest certificate in sports sciences. There they look at your sport accomplishment, sport achievement and your sport involvement. So that is part of the selection, but that is for that highest certificate 1-year program. And if you are successful in that program, then you can apply, you've got access into the education department. You can go on with the B.Ed education degree. But that is the only program that I know that they look at the sport achievements, yes.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions? Wow.
Mhm.
Okay, now I always tell the story, so you might have heard it before. First day of class where I taught, my first lesson was on logarithms, and I prepared and I nailed it. I just taught my heart out, and at the end of the lesson I asked, does anyone have any questions? And no one put up their hand, and of course no one had any questions. I nailed it. And so I gave them a test, and more than 50% failed that test dismally. So I learned that just because people don't have questions doesn't mean they don't have questions. Just because they don't ask it doesn't mean they don't have it. Okay, so you might just not be confident in asking your question. That's okay, but no doubt you have some questions. So feel free to reach out to us and to make an appointment with Dr. Clase. He's been a stunning benefit to us. So Dr. Clase, thank you very much for your time and your effort. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Pieter, and to all the students also good luck with this year and with your exams. Before you know it, you are there. But yeah, all of the best. Thank you very much for the invitation once again.
Thank you, Dr. Clase. Now you are more than welcome to stay on if you want, but I have a special guest as well, so you're welcome to stay and meet him. He's that dashing smile there, Tulani. How are you?
Hello, Mr. Russo. How are you? Good.
I'm very well, thank you. Now, guys, I was working through some of our results of last year, and somehow I had missed this in the process. In the beginning of the year, we deal so much with people that didn't get their results, especially if they were exam-only students, and that I completely missed it. And I fell on these math marks. One of my students scored 94 for maths, and it just blew my mind. Who's this guy? So I looked into it, and I gave him a call and just congratulated him and asked him if he wouldn't mind just sharing with the students his story about, as a rewriter, how he went from his original mark to getting this excellent grade. So not a lot of students get that grade, just so that you know. This is very, very, very rare. I think, Tulani, I don't have the exact results, but I think there's probably 4 or 5 students at Sakai that got in the 90s. So you are definitely on under the top 5. So congratulations with that. Very proud of you.
Thank you.
Tulani, now the reason why I invited you is because I wanted you to just share a little bit your story. It's really helpful. Every one of these students are in different circumstances. Most are actually matric students rewriting maths. There's very many. I think we have almost 120 students rewriting maths this year. So I just have a few questions for you, if you don't mind. Some of them might be a bit personal, so I hope you don't feel put on the spot. But I just first want to ask you, if you wouldn't mind just telling this story a little bit, the story you told me about how you went from your matric marks. You can, if you don't mind, share what you got in matric, and then how did you get to get 94 in matric?
Yeah, no problem. First of all, hello everyone, to the matrics and the grade 11s. So I was at the institution last year. I previously written matric, but my final results weren't good enough to apply to the program that I wanted to get into. At that time, it was engineering and computer science. So I always tell people, like, before, you always have a place you want to go to in mind, even before you start matric or write. Like, there's a place you dream of going to. And for me, I had that, but even after that, the alternatives, I didn't even qualify to get into those. So I looked for options because I was working at that time where I could work while also upgrade my marks at the same time. And I bumped into Elroy through a family friend who recommended. And then I just signed up. And from then on, I looked at the curriculum and planned my work and my time around being able to avail myself for lessons, tests, and exams. So that was the first thing that I needed to get through. And then just to talk through the process of getting from what I think I got in the 50s, 40s previously, and working my way to 94, starting from the same, like from January when I knew I was going to Elroy. Even before we started classes, I was already working on past exams, had a timetable just to structure my day and my time to ensure I had enough time to work through everything. And most people come to me for advice because a few close friends have told probably the family members who are still in school how I was able to manage work and also at the same time being able to upgrade. I was upgrading last year maths, physics, and CAT. So the one thing that probably sticks is you need to have a timetable. So you need to be able to plan your day. Like, guys, you don't have time, and final exams is the last show, but your final exams should be the prelims. So the prelims, you should treat them as your final exams before the final exams, because that's where you get to find out, are you actually ready for the finals? Do you still have things that you need to work through? Or is it anything that you can still ask your teachers, reach out to anyone in the school just to get assistance, review any work that you've done before. But even before getting to the prelims, you should know what you know and you should know what you don't know. Like, if you're gonna write an exam, you can probably tell me how much you're gonna get. And if you say about an 8, I'm gonna ask, how many past papers have you written, have you done? I know there's drives that we have or access or files for past papers from last year, the last 6 years on the website. And also there's other public websites, like I'm gonna put it here on the chat. You can just copy and paste for Matrics specifically. You can find past papers for all the subjects that you need to, going back the last 10 years. And then once you work through those, maybe at a pace that's comfortable to you, but there is no pace. The pace should be, you don't have free time, but also don't push yourself. You need to take some breaks. You need to review the work that you're doing, and then also get back to action. December was like 3 months ago. That was your last rest that you had. The only time you're going to rest again is probably after your final exam. So from now, you need to put your head down and start getting to work. So timetable, you need to put a list of all the past papers that you've done and just put it back, what you got for that past paper. Let's say you did a past paper from 2015. Put a note what percentage you got. So let's say you got 50. I got 50 the first time I did it. But as the months went by, I saw improvements. So Feb, I was at 70, and then in March, I was chasing 80, and then and so on, I saw improvements. Also with that, there was class tests that I had to do. Even my first term, I didn't do as well as in the finals. But my second term, as I kept on working, I managed to improve all over until I got to 95. So past papers, that's your best. Like, if I could say anything, do your past papers. The papers don't change that much. The questions are different, yes, but the way the questions are asked, it's almost the same. Obviously, don't memorize the questions. Try to learn to understand the idea behind the question, whether it's for maths, English, or maybe it's art. You know what they're looking for. Try to find the system that you can use to answer the specific question. Consistency, yes. Consistency always. Timetable, that's part of the consistency, the timetable. So you know on Saturday is okay, I'm gonna do in the morning, then maybe late at night you go out with your friends, and then on Sunday you come back to your books again. Yes, you can go out, but don't do too much. That's gonna hurt you, because you can do DBE, it's the same thing, it's all the same under Malusi. So if you can do all of, but you won't have time to do all of those, but do the most recent ones. But for each subject, try to aim for at least 15 past papers. I know it's paper 1, paper 2. That's where you get a benchmark of where you stand, so that you know one past paper won't tell you what you need to work on. Even 5 are not good enough. Once you get to 10 and you've seen, okay, question 1 is like this, question 2 is like this, this is the questions they ask in question 3, in question 5, this is what they're looking for. And you pick up the patterns, because there's patterns in every question paper, in every language, sort of question that they're looking for. Even in economics, they look for certain things. So you sort of understand what you need to focus on. Also, we all learn differently. So that's where you can also prep how to learn that particular content prior to doing your past papers, IB papers. But I'm gonna say just stick to caps for the moment, because the order of the questions can throw you off. As I said, there's a tempo that you're going to learn with the past papers. And this is more for efficiency, less about learning. Yes, you can do the IEB questions, but the way the questions are structured, they're going to throw you off. Yes, you know the content, but let's say for maths paper 1, they start with algebra, then they move on to patterns, they move on to functions, then they do calculus and optimizations. In IEB, you might find they start with functions, and then they do calculus, and then they switch to algebra, and then they do patterns. So just stick to CAPS for the moment, just to keep that tempo. Also, when you do your past papers, I know the writing time is 3 hours. So you can put on Pomodoro. There's a website called Pomodoro. So you can simulate 2.5 hours, because in that final exam or your prelims, that extra time is so essential so that you go through the whole paper again. I made a lot of mistakes even in my final paper. I picked up at least 6 mistakes that could have cost me a lot of marks, but I was able to pick them up because I had enough time to review the work that I did, just to double check, okay, this is how I'm supposed to do it. Even if you think it's right, even some of the questions like 2 marks, I just did it again. Obviously, don't write it out, you just work it through in your mind. But to get to that point, past papers. Also, don't just do past papers. You need to have an Excel sheet where you can have a database of all the past papers you've done, how much you got for that past paper the last time you did it, so that you can actually track, because you can only improve once you know how you're doing. Let's say for English paper 2, the last time you did it, you got 60% on your practice paper. Then you can review the past paper. Okay, this section, I struggled here. And then for the following week, you can focus on that section since you still have time. By the time you get to prelims, you should be done with most of your learning of the content. I know there's probably like 1 section after that you still have to learn, but it's not too much that it disrupts your learning. But you get to prelims, you should be done with learning of any content. And then after prelims, as soon as prelims done, just take 3 days. I know your head can feel like it's on fire because it's a lot. Take 3 days to rest and get back to action. And then when you get back to action, just think about the papers you wrote and the sections that you actually struggled in, and then just focus on those. And then after that, you go back to past papers, read the exams. And then I'm just going to touch up on the application processes. Guys, as I said, I know you guys, if I asked each and every one of you where you want to go, you would tell me off the top of your head what university you want to go to. It's not a secret. You can go to the university websites. They will let you know what you need to get in. So I'm currently at UCT. So last year I was able to search up. So they tell you what you need to get to guarantee admission. Always aim for guaranteed admission, because you don't want to be put on a waiting list and you have to put your opportunity on hold that other people didn't do as well to be above you. Always be in the place where you know I'm guaranteed to be here, or this is where I want. Also alternatives. Sometimes the program you're applying for, there's so many people who did so well, way better than, even if you did well, they get in above you, so that you have an alternative program at an alternative institution that you want to go to. Maybe that's not where you want to go, but at least it's a fallback that you have in mind that you might have to go to. But yeah, that is all. Just timetable, past papers, focus, find a tempo or pace that suits your learning style, and just keep at it. If you want to take breaks, I would even suggest don't take any breaks, because sometimes breaks can turn from maybe you're going to take like a week doing normal content, so you're not doing too much work, and then that can turn into like 3 weeks, and then you can lose the momentum. And that's another big thing, the momentum. Once you lose it, like this year is so important, because if you do well here your whole life, you don't have to do this again. Like I always say, if I had the choice, I wish I didn't rewrite or didn't have to rewrite. I wish I got through it the first time. If I'm being honest, like if I tell you the truth, I wish I got through the first time. Also, the second time when I did it, I wanted it to be my last time. So if you're first time matriculant, if you're all upgrading, I know you want this to be the last time you go through this process. So rather sacrifice what you can. Just look at your day-to-day, look at the things that you do every day. I'm sure there's a few things you can knock off for next year, series, games, whatever it is. If you want to go party, there's parties next year that you can go to. There's the movies you can always watch next year. There's movies I wanted to watch, I'm probably going to start watching in a few months also. But if I'd watched them last year, those 3 hours add up over the year, because 3 hours, that's a past paper. That's another past paper I can do. Also, that's content I can review where I know I'm struggling. So that's sort of the things that you have to look at over time. And then besides that, again, guys, your families, like Matric is such a big thing. So I know most of your families are probably supporting you. Even if you're upgrading, we know how much important it is, because it's such a checkpoint. If you play games, you know what's a checkpoint, or such a pivotal moment in your life or career. And they understand the significance behind this current year. They'll support you. You just have to be open with them. Okay, this is what's happening. This is what it means to me. They also understand, and they will help you to make sure that you have all the time that you need to put in the work that you know you need to put in. Again, when you get to the final paper and you're sitting down, you will know how well you're going to do. It's not a secret. Yes, the paper can be hard. The questions can throw you off sometimes, but when you sit, even before you walk in, you know if you actually studied. And if you don't, unfortunately, yes, it's going to cost you a lot. Maybe you're not going to do as well as you're supposed to, but the program that you apply to when your marks come out, it's going to be, it hurts, honestly. But it hurt me when I got my first matric results, because I wanted to go to the places I wanted to go to, but they weren't good enough to get in. And the second time, I was so happy. And that will pay off forever. Even now, the program that I'm doing, I know last year was such a foundational moment that I'm gonna reap the rewards of the work that I did from last year. So that's basically all I have from my side. If you guys have any questions, quick questions related to mainly how you can just structure your work, your workload, or any things, any tips that you might want to ask, you can just throw them in.
Tulani, I have a few questions that
Yeah.
I'm gonna go in before the rest do. Okay.
Okay, fine.
I'm gonna play my principal card here. Okay. So here's one of my questions. You actually tried improving your results before. You said
Yeah.
that, and but that time you didn't redo your SBA. So
Yes.
tell me, and just tell the students, because there's a lot of students that actually choose not to redo their SBA. They have that option. What would your advice be for students? Is it better to redo your SBA? Just what was your experience?
Okay, so for me, with the SBA situation, SBA is 25%, and for some subject, it's 50%. So let's say you go back to write, that 25%, let's say you got 50% throughout the year. So you're losing out on 12% of possible marks that you could have towards your final marks. And 5% alone is such a massive amount of APS points that impacts you. So if you can, I would rather suggest that you do your SBA if you want to secure or guarantee that you get in. But unfortunately, there's some situations that you find that, yes, they can't. And I know the exams without SBA, you write them in June, which means that you have way less prep time to get through all the work that you need. And that specifically, I mean, it's not meant for full year. It's meant for people who wrote recently to just write again, basically. And there's basically no studying there. You're just doing what you were doing pre the final exams before that, because you don't have a lot of time. It's Feb now, almost March, April, May exam starts for the June exams, and you're already at it. But with this, if you choose to do the SBA, you have the whole year. You have access to teachers, you can ask questions, you can do the class test. The June exams also help you prep you. And then the prelims also on top do a second layer of prepping. And then on top of that, with the past papers, you can just do a third layer, and then you know in your finals you're supposed to. Practicals, please, with how important.
We'll go through each of those questions just now. So I just have a few specific questions I want to ask you. So that's brilliant. I really appreciate that. Very practical. Thanks, Tulani. So my other question is, you mentioned a few things that I've over the years definitely picked up is the key factors to success. Consistency, you said, past papers, not taking breaks. Like, I think that's such a valuable thing. It is your matric year. It's such a short year. So taking breaks, unfortunately, as you say, lose momentum. Something you didn't mention, and I'm curious how valuable it was for you, but communication with your teacher, maybe I didn't pick up on it, maybe you did say communication with the teacher, asking questions, communication with other students, was that helpful for you? Did you?
So for, when I was here, the communication with the teachers, yes, 100%. Even from the get-go, you can ask the teachers. I reached out. You have a messaging platform on the system. I ask questions even after every test just to get clarification questions. And then we normally hold sessions to review every test with the teacher. And then they just go through the content outside of the normal class lessons. And then that's where you get to ask questions about any question that you came through that you're like, okay, I couldn't get through this. You ask the teacher to explain. And even after class, you can ask the teacher about a question that you encounter, and they will help you. And then another thing we did as a class was we set up a group, and we had meetings just to go through past papers. So everyone would just jump in, and we were doing questions, answering questions, and then anyone had advice about how to approach a question, they would hop in and help, and then just explain. Again, one of the best ways to learn is to explain something to a group of people, even if you're struggling to understand. But I feel like when you're explaining it, it's something that happens in your mind when you're explaining something, because you also have to break it down so that you don't get lost in your own words, which is what happens when you don't understand something. So when you're forced to explain it to someone, you're forced to understand it also. So that was another helpful thing. Yes, teachers, please reach out, guys. Like, any avenue that you have for assistance provided by the school, use it. Everything, it's so important. You use every opportunity that you have. Just make sure you use it, everything. Whatever it is, if you feel like you have an idea that you might want to suggest, reach out to Mr. Russell and just message him. Hey, sir, this is what I want suggest. He will reach out to you and then work with you just to ensure that you also sort it.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to hear. And just guys, just so you know, I didn't send him any of these questions before the time, so he's not promoting anything on my agenda. He's really
no. This is all impromptu.
And I'm tempted to actually share you. I'm going to share this. Sorry, let me show you this. Can I show it? Let me just. Can you see my screen? I just did a quick search. Can you see my screen? Does it show?
Yes.
I just did a quick search on because I'm on all the WhatsApp groups, and all the time Tulani's name came up in the WhatsApp groups. Look at this. So Tulani was very active in communicating, at least with his friends, and it's just evidence for me that it really is very, very helpful to not just share your thoughts, ask questions, but as he says, really helpful to help your friends when you understand something. It's like he says, it does something in your mind. Tulani, my next question is, what are you currently studying? And how did you make it? You did share a little bit about it. Just take us a little bit through your application process, how it worked. And when I spoke to him on the phone, he said he's in his dream program. Did I hear you right?
Yes, that is correct.
So what are you studying? And just take us a bit through the process, how it worked to actually get in.
Okay, so last year, obviously with the results that I had, I didn't qualify for the program that I wanted. So during the applications, you can let the university know that you're busy upgrading your matric results. And there's normally a box that you have to tick in there that you put in. So I notified the university, and after that, I sent out emails to the university, to the faculty, letting them know, hey, I'm busy upgrading my matric results. Please don't throw away my application. And then they just told me, okay, you're just gonna wait for your results to come out, and then we will review your application. So as soon as my application came through, they were able to review, and then I was accepted into both the faculties that I actually applied to. I applied for electrical engineering and computer science and applied maths, but I ended up sticking with computer science and applied maths for those options. So as soon as your results come through, reach out to the universities, take your results, send them through. If you do have the time, make calls. Guys, call the people, call the university. I know it's a busy time. This probably won't get through the first few days, but you need to speak to someone. The emails can take like 2 days to get answered. Call until you get through to someone. When you get through to someone, the first time they'll probably push you off or give you a automated answer on the call. Wait for the email. You call again until they know that you are calling, just to get it sorted out. And then they'll send you through, and then you should be able to speak to the faculties. Let them know you sent the emails through. Let them know where the emails were sent through and everything. And just make sure you talk them through it on the phone. And you don't drop the call until they find the emails. Yeah, normally they will find your applications, but you just want to make sure that your application doesn't get lost through the weeds and everything.
Great. So tell me, is it right what you expect? Are you now full-time at the university, or are you still working?
Yeah, I'm currently full-time. I was able to secure a bursary for studying currently.
And it's only been a few weeks, but is it more or less difficult than what you expected?
Was this the work?
The studies, being at university.
No, it's the first few weeks, so I'm still coping in. Is not very different, but it's more of personal time management. So the skills you're going to pick up for matrics, managing your time, you need it here because there's a lot of freedom. To do anything, and it's easy to get lost. I had a few friends who were here before, so I always spoke to a few of them last year just how to manage time. They just said, hey, you need a timetable as per normal. You need to know what you're doing at a certain time, because here there's no one who's going to force you to come to class. There's no one who's going to send you emails to do your assignment. You're just going to be told, hey, assignment deadline is closed, you can't submit, and you can't go crying to the lecturer because there's over 400 students for one subject, and that lecturer is dealing with at least 4 modules for 1 year, and it's like 4 years in that course. So they don't really care about focusing on one person because that's so inefficient for everyone else. So you need to make sure that you keep up to date with everything that's being provided. Check your emails, check your assignments, and do your work. And then obviously it's less pressure compared to Matric because one, you're doing what you want to do. So it's more focused, less distributed. I know in Matric, some people used to complain about subjects that they have to do, they have to elect, but here you select what you want to do. You're doing what you chose to do. It's not something that was there that you're to select from. You made the choice to go study, whatever it is that you're going to end up studying. So there's that passion that has to come through, making sure that you nurture that and ensure that you focus and set time aside to do that.
Tulani, I have one more question, then we'll go to the students' questions. And I know this is a little bit personal and you don't have to share too much detail, but I know your original grade 12 year was a difficult year in your life, and it seems like it actually did affect your grades.
Yes.
So if you look back on that year, how do you feel about it now? Do you have any encouragement for students that might also be having a rough year or had a rough year in the past and is trying to catch up? Just what did you learn from that experience and what followed after that? Just some personal encouragement, if you don't mind.
Okay, I'll say I don't want to say things because for me it was. I'll say it was different, the experience. So normally I'd probably say stick through it, but I'm not gonna lie. I tried in that year, but looking back, I think I know it's not a proper way if you use therapeutic speak or language. It's not the right thing to do. Throw yourself into the books and probably try to deal with the problem after that. I'm not gonna say that's not a good thing mentally to do, which I didn't do back then. Looking back, I probably would have done that just to sort of get away from the personal problems I was facing at the time. But again, that can have such a negative impact on your life personally, post-academics, because again, guys, you're still a person. You still have to go through all of those things. So I don't know how to approach this specifically. I would also suggest for each person to rather reach out to someone who's more qualified for that unique situation that they're facing. I could tell you what I wish I did, but then again, it's probably toxic, so I won't say it. But if you're going through something, again, I know it can be tough. It eats up a lot of mental energy. So speak to anyone that you know, friends, family, close persons, or try to reach out to any certified individual who can assist you work through whatever you're going through. And get assistance from them. I'm sure they've dealt with more similar situations, and then they can provide advice on how to navigate that situation in your life personally. I know my situation probably won't apply to many people, so I don't want to put it out there. And in my advice looking back, I know it's toxic in general. If I say I would have done that, I don't want to say it out because it's more negative impact than positive impact on such.
Good, excellent advice, I think. So, but Talani, we're really proud of you, proud of actually picking yourself up, taking responsibility. And I think that's what stands out for me most about you is you didn't make your problems other people's problems. You didn't make, you took responsibility. You put the things in place. No one spoon-fed you, and that's the last thing we do at well, I wish it's the last thing we did at Elroy, but we still do spoon-feed a little bit by reminding students about the stuff that they need to hand in. And you just explained to us that's not what happens at university. But I really, really want to just say congratulations, just so that the rest of you know, he got all the subjects he got distinctions in. So this is really something to be proud of. So thanks to Lani for just sharing some excellent advice. I think it's much better than I could have expected you to share. I just have a few questions that the students asked, and then we will let you also go. Don't want to waste your study time. Atang asked, how many past papers did you do per week? A rough estimate.
I was doing a past paper at least every 2 days.
Wow. Okay.
And then on weekends, I tried to get through at least, on the worst, like the most focus, I was going through at least 4, because I was putting in like 2.5 hours for each paper. So, but I managed to get through 2 hours writing the paper.
Sure.
So it was less about focusing, just going through the work as fast as I can. And one of the things that for me, the reason I did it like that, it was I see a question. If I knew I understood it, I was able to go through it quickly. And then if I spend some time on a question, that's when I know, okay, now I don't understand this question, even if I can do it. But the fact that I can't catch the question the first time I read it, because even if before you answer a question, you answer it in your mind before. If I have to pick up a pen and explain the question, or write down the question, or break it down, that's when I know I don't understand the question as much as I think I do. I should be able to look at a question and do it in my mind before writing it, because you write what's in your mind. So I should be able to do the question in my mind before I write it down. So some questions I got through and I had to write down to break it down to understand. And that's when I knew, now I don't understand this question enough. And then I'll note that down, that section, and then the following day I do that section. But the tempo I was talking about, question paper, you need to be on it at least 1 question paper a day if you have time. I was working, that's another thing, I was working that time. So that's the thing, I squashed my time to 2 hours. So I come back from work and I probably had I came back around 6. So I slept at like 11. So you can count from that time, 6 until 11, like 5 hours. If I do a past paper, that's 2. I still have to prep for tomorrow. I still have to get ready. I have to eat, cook, take care of any administration inside the house. And then the extra 2 hours was for reviewing any of the material that was in the class for the day, any assignments also that I had, any prep for tests that were upcoming. So that's sort of time management I had to go through. And then the weekends were sort of the times that I had to do a lot of past papers. So Saturday, 4 past papers, Sunday I do the same thing, and then I alternate which subject I'm doing, or which paper 1s on Saturday for this subject, or paper 2s for these subjects, and then alternating on and off.
Brilliant. Well done. Another question, CAT's practicals, please. It's quite a difficult subject, and with CAT, how important is the PAT, and how did you work through it?
Okay, so for the CAT pad, that was the thing. You need to plan it out as the first thing. I know it comes out in sections for deadlines. So you have section A, and section B, section 3. So you look at, there's a rubric they give you that how many marks allocated to certain thing. If you go through your CAT practical, let's say they say the first deadline is March, and you look at the work that you have to do, you can set aside time. Okay, I think this is probably going to be 20 hours of work that I have to put in. And then if you say 20 hours, put an extra 5 for just in case anything you messed up for that prac. Then do the prac as normal. And then after you're done for that 5 hours, mark the prac yourself. Go through the rubric. It tells you what you need to include. Check it, check what you're missing. Sometimes we tell, okay, did this student have this? 1 mark for this, 2 marks for this, 3 marks for this. If you are questioning, okay, I think I got 3 marks, then it's not enough. You need to be sure about this 3 marks. If they say they're looking for 2 of this, add an extra 1 just in case to be safe. If it's 5 marks and you have to put in 4 Excel formulas, put in 6 just for safety. And then you just work through that and you submit.
Thanks, Tulani. Excellent. Wow, well done. Listen, so I don't know if you've got advice for the student who's asking if you have any advice for a student who's upgrading and adding a subject which they haven't had since grade 9. I think it's probably maths. So it sounds like it's a student that had math literacy and is now adding the subject.
Okay, so for you, again, I'm not gonna lie to you, in a difficult position. Again, 2 years of work, actually, yeah, 2 years of work basically, because most of the workload for maths was done, okay, most of the heavy lifting was done in grade 10 and 11. So particularly the answering of the questions in your head or picking up on the patterns. So for you, the time that you have to allocate more of your time to maths specifically. Again, the past papers and the test and the section. So you do a section, you do a test on that section before doing a full section. Like if you haven't done the subject since grade 9, I wouldn't be able to give you a past paper because I know maybe you do a few things, and then once we get to calculus, it's going to be difficult. Once we get to patterns, it's going to be difficult. So go through section by section. Again, the same strategy for the past papers you do for each section. I'm not sure what book you have. There's resources provided by the school. Go through the section, test the section, and then alternate between the different subjects. Again, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's going to be difficult because I know someone also who did a similar thing. Again, they hadn't done pure maths, they were doing maths lit, and then they had to pick up to upgrade. And then for them, I also gave them the same advice. You have to put most of your time on maths because past papers, tests, because you need to know what you know or what you don't know. And the only way you can find that out outside of class is through a previous test. If you have your textbook, I know textbook, they like to ramp it out slowly. You read, there's an exercise, do all of the exercises. Like some textbook will give you like 13 questions for a section. I'll probably choose like 6, but you have to do all of them. But there is another site that I used a lot, like it probably was my second hand in studying for maths and physics. I'm just going to type it out here. I'm not sure.
While you're talking to Lani,
it's the siavula.com.
Yeah.
So it's basically siavula. So there is a pay plan that you can get. So it teaches you the sections and then it gives you the questions of each section. And then you get your marks there. And then there is another section where it's just questions. And you can do the questions there. There's unlimited questions to work through for each and every section that's in the maths. And also for you, you need to know the different sections of the exam. Like you need to know paper 1 is this section. You need to know paper 2. Paper 2, there's only 3 sections. Analytics, geometry, Matric. And then paper 1, there's a whole list of sections. Siavula will allow you to practice each section, and you need to know how well you're doing in each section. And then after you're confident that, okay, you sort of understand, then you start getting to past papers. And you probably have to put in a lot more work than everyone else who's done maths for the last 2 years because you have to compensate for the last 2 years you missed out on. And then on top of that, you have to learn the current year work that they're doing this year. So I'm not going to sugarcoat, it's going to be difficult. But if you're focused and you plan it out correctly, you can do even better than people who've done it for the last 2 years.
Absolutely. That was excellent advice, Tulani. I cannot improve on that. Thank you. Someone's asking about your what was your working hours during, did you work during the weekend?
No, I didn't work during the weekend. I was working weekly. So at the time I was working hybrid, but mainly the main times were around 7 up until 6 on average.
Wow.
We had to go to office 7 until 6. But even at work, I told them I'm busy upgrading school. So just to let them know there's this thing that you're doing on the side. So sometimes during lunch, instead of maybe sitting with my colleagues every day, I'd be on the side, go through some content. It can be just 30 minutes. You get an hour lunch, just take 30 minutes. You don't have to do an hour because you will go crazy if you're working, and because you only have so much energy per day to do mental work. So 30 minutes, don't do anything, just read through the content. And again, the thing I was talking about, answering the questions in your head, just to get to understanding how you break it down. And then after work, you set a time aside. But if you're working, your superpower is the weekends. That's the only thing I can say. Saturday and Sunday, Friday afternoon, actually. Friday afternoon, Saturday, Sunday is your best friends if you're working. If you're not a student, every day is your best friend for you. But if you're working, Saturday, Sunday, and Friday afternoon, utilize all that time. You won't enjoy it, guys. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes my friends would text me, hey, we're going out. You wanna come through? I had to say no because I couldn't afford missing out on that time. Those are the sort of the sacrifices you have to make because there's a price you have to pay for anything that you want. If you want maybe an 80 or 90%, you need to know how many hours it's gonna cost you, and those hours have to come out of somewhere. So if you're negotiating that 3 hours to go do something that you can do next year, you will pay for that missed out 3 hours.
Yeah, that is again exactly right. Tulani, someone was asking, were you registered through Elroy, and which past papers did you practice with? Was it DBE or Sakai papers?
So I did DBE and Sakai. So I did both the past papers. So in my instance, I actually set up an Excel sheet on Google. So I put all my subjects, I put all the years just as a tracker. So after each past paper, I say 2025 physics, paper 1, paper 2, then I'll put in what percentage I got for that specific paper. And I think around July, I had a long list of previous past papers I had done and how much I got for each one. So by look of things, I already knew which subject or which paper I was struggling in. And you sort of be strategic about how you approach it. Okay, I'm going to focus more on this paper. For example, last year I know paper 2 for maths was more difficult for me to go through. And then for physics, it was physics paper 1 that I had an issue with. So I knew as the months went by, I dedicated more of my time towards those subjects and shifting them more through to that. And for CAT, it was more, practical, theory that I was struggling with. So I knew, okay, I'm going to dedicate more of my time towards this. And then that way you can sort of understand, okay, this time I have, which is limited, how much I'm going to put into what. You can't do it evenly because not everything is equal. Some subjects you get faster, some things you struggle in. That's why you need to document what you're good at. Even the subjects, break them down into the module. I know for ecos, maybe you do macroeconomics, you're doing government. It's been a while since I did ecos, but the sections on the textbook, put it down there. In this section, I'm scoring 80%, and in this one, I'm getting 60. So you know, okay, I need to put more time into the 60. And as they both improve, you target the one that you're struggling in until you push all of them up above a certain level. And whatever average you get from there is what you're going to take into the finals.
Good. And then just to answer that other question, yes, he was registered through Elroy. The first time he He did directly with the DPE, I think, and just did the final exam. But then this time he did through Elroy, and he was able to increase.
Just clarification for the DPE, the June exam, so you write in June without the SBA. I don't think they provide a path for SBA that's so structured. So it's just you write in June, and then you write finals if you want to.
Good. Do you have someone asked? Do you have an optimal method for making timetables? How did you?
So basically, I use Google Calendar. So I still use Google Calendar at the moment. So basically, I'm not sure if they've probably come across this video. You put the big rocks and the small rocks, and you put the sand, and that's how you put your time. That's basically applies to how you structure your calendar. So there's some things that you have to do that you can't negotiate. So you have to go to class. You maybe have to, let's say you're full-time student, certain classes you have to go to. You have sports after school, maybe those things that you have to do, you put them down there. And then you'll see your free time. That's where this specific time I'm going to set it aside for this, and this specific time I'm going to set it up for this, and so on. And I don't say aim to make your calendar empty. You need a few breaks between those so that you don't crash out. Because if you do burn out, it will cost you more. Because once you burn out, you just become lazy. You just want to take a break for such a long time. Because I went through that. I went through a burnout in June, and for like 2 weeks, and the scary thing, this was during exams.
Wow.
I was going to burn out from work and everything else. So I just went 2 weeks. I couldn't find the energy to study. I come back from work, then I knew maybe I'm writing tomorrow, and then I just didn't have the energy or the interest to do any of that. I wanted to, but my mind just freezes because you don't have the capacity or the mental energy just to do that. So as I said, in your calendar also, be mindful to set breaks, but don't set half a day break. Maybe you're gonna start in the morning, you take 3 hours off, do your chores, do everything, and you come back late in the afternoon and go back with your work. So I'd rather, the best way, in the morning, study. Before you sleep, study. The best time to take a break is halfway through the day, if that's anything. You must sleep after you studied. As soon as you wake up, study. If you're taking a break, in between. If you're working, again, same thing. You have to go to work. You can't negotiate things like that. Again, Google Calendar will help you. Maybe you know if you're traveling at a certain time, maybe you won't have time in the morning. So you know, okay, after work, I get home around this time. And then speak to your family members. Maybe there's some things that you have to do after work that take up some time of your work. You can say, okay, can I do this on Saturday? I'll sort it out on Saturday. During that 3-hour break that I'm saying, taking a break from studying. And then they can take care of those tasks or chores during that time. And then you know, okay, on Saturday and Sunday, during these 3 hours, I'm taking a break. You move your mind from studying and you go do those other things.
Good. Resejo's hand is up before I get to the last question in the chat. Resejo, you want to ask your question?
No, so that was a mistake.
Oh, was it by accident? Are you sure? Okay. I think she wanted your number, Tulani.
Okay, that's
It's
fine.
not too, I'm just teasing. If it's not too personal, this question, if it's not too personal for you to answer, I just want to know, where did you work and which bursaries did you apply for? And this is a student who's asking on behalf of himself, I'm sure, and other students that might be in need of financial support for their studies next year.
Okay, guys, I'm going to be honest. I would give out the bursary that I had, but it's not a public bursary as per se. It was a unique position I was in, and this just stems back from high school opportunity that I had previously. And through the networks that I did have, I was able to just reach out to past contacts just to get assistance. So I can't say this is the link that you go to apply to. I would be lying to you. I don't like gatekeeping at all. I would let you know. I know there's a lot of bursaries, but at that time, my marks weren't good enough to apply for the popular bursaries that are out there. Because I know there's a lot of bursaries, but your marks have to be up to standard, even more strict than the requirements for the programs that we want to get into. So I straight out didn't qualify for any of those bursaries at the moment, just through networks, personal networks that I had, partly from high school friends that I reached out to. I was able to secure. Where did I work? Okay, first half of the year, I worked at 3 companies. Beginning of the year, I worked at Amazon. I switched, I worked at one day only. And then again, I had the burnout. Around that time, that's when I started resigning from my company. So I just moved from my company just to get a break before prelims. And then I got like a month of, which I was just studying the whole month. And then again, I got a new job just right before prelims. No, after prelims, yeah, I got a new job after prelims, just before finals. So I got a new job, and I was working for an American company, Feedonomics. I just recently resigned again, just a few weeks ago. And during finals, I was working, but at that point, I was in a place where I was comfortable with my confidence in the work I was doing, and I was spending most of my time mainly doing past papers. And the reason I switched from that one, so the one day only was hybrid, and then the other one was work from home, which is probably was way essential because I saved up to 6 hours per day in terms of traveling, because when you're traveling in my situation, you have to wake up early. And that time I could use going through schoolwork. So instead of waking up at 6 and then getting to work at like 8, traffic, you have to take into account. I was able to wake up at 6. I know my work starts at 9. So that's a past paper. I get to work. My lunch is at home. Again, there's no distractions. That's 45 minutes to go through a section that I don't understand.
Wow.
Soon I clock off after work. I'll probably take an hour, just go to the gym. If I'm not going to the gym, meet up with my friends. And then I know I'm back by 7:30. Again, from 7:30 until 10:30, I was back to study. And then I'll sleep at 11, and then rinse and repeat. And this was during finals. So I was doing this repeatedly up until I finished.
Great.
For students who need finance for the next, again, guys, situation, you have to search. I know there's many websites for bursaries. Again, I can't suggest because I didn't apply to those bursaries, so I don't know really the process. But before that, I knew I was searching bursaries online. There was a few bursaries that I did see. I don't know how you go through them because I didn't go through the process. So I can't say this one is the one to take specifically, or this one is more appropriate for this one. But I just do your research online, or reach out to Mr. Rousseau. Maybe he knows a few bursaries students have been able to apply through the previous years.
Great. Tulani, you have been an incredible inspiration, and no doubt to most of the students here. Again, we're very proud of you, and not just proud, super grateful that you're willing to share. And without coaching, you've nailed all the points that we tried to get across. So I'm super grateful for you. Thank you for making time for us. Clearly, you value time in the right way, know how to spend it, and you spend it tonight with us. So hopefully everyone knows just how valuable that is, that this is a man who makes sure that he doesn't waste time. And he took some of that time to just spend it with you tonight and share for almost an hour. So Tulani, I'm sure that will make a difference in some of these students' lives. So thank you. We really appreciate it.
No, thank you guys. Again, good luck to everyone. I hope everything works out. But I know everything works out because you will do as you're supposed to do. After this, supposed to go study.
Okay,
No phone, no TikTok, no Facebook, no Instagram.
Great.
So the call ends, get to the desk and go study. There is no excuses, there is no breaks. But yeah, I know it's toxic, but next year you will enjoy it with all the freedom and the extra time.
Yeah.
And you get to do the things that you want to do.
Yeah. And if you make it to university, you have a long break, so you'll have a month or two.
You see here, for example, tomorrow I only have 3 hours of class. So I'm only there from 8 until 11, and I have the whole day to do whatever. And that's sort of the freedom I'm talking about. You can do whatever for that 3 hours. After that 3 hours, you ended up to come back the next day.
Mm.
So you can probably put in a movie there. You can just do anything that you want to do. Not this year though.
Yeah, not yet, Tulani. Don't lose the momentum. Great. Tulani, good luck. We'll definitely keep up with you and share with students your progress. I'm sure they'll have an interest to see how you do. Thanks for your time.
Thank you guys. Take
Guys,
care.
I also want to thank you for joining us tonight. I did want to just spend some time sharing with you on just some thoughts about preparing for a career with the view of AI in mind. But I think our time is expired, so I don't think I'll get a lot of value out of you guys. I'll let you go study, hopefully, at least get some dinner before you do. But thank you for making the time. I'm sure this is going to make a difference for you. Remember to make your appointment with Dr. Clase, and hopefully keep notes. You've kept some notes from Tulani, but we've taken some notes here as well, and we'll send the video recording, maybe something helpful that we'll just send on to help you keep on top of mind. Good. Have a lovely evening. We'll see you guys next round. Cheers.